The key difference between Agile and Scrum is that Agile is a philosophy about how software should be developed, while Scrum is a purposefully incomplete framework that guides teams as they build products in an agile manner. Anything that's agile must follow the 4 foundational values and the 12 fundamental principles that are explicitly stated in the Agile Manifesto. Many people have differing opinions on what agile is, but if your definition of agile isn't in line with the manifesto, then it's not agile. And on the other hand, what constitutes Scrum is defined in the Scrum Guide. Again, many people have different opinions on what constitutes Scrum. But if what you're doing isn't consistent with what's in the Scrum Guide, then what you're doing isn't Scrum. Hi, I'm Darcy DeClute, a Scrum Master, Agile Coach, Jira Trainer, and author of the Scrum Master Certification Guide. I want to talk to you about the differences between Agile and Scrum, starting off with a quick look at what Agile product development is all about. Some think Agile is a methodology, but doing so is a bit of a stretch. The Agile Manifesto is less than 500 words long and simply makes value statements, such as, we value individuals and interactions over processes, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. Other than asserting that continuous delivery is its highest priority, the Agile Manifesto doesn't provide any insights on how to implement its ideas. It simply describes the mindset of an Agile practitioner. In contrast to Agile, Scrum is a framework that actually provides some actionable advice on how to get team-based product development done. And while the Agile Manifesto is less than 500 words long, the Scrum Guide is almost 5,000. It's still only 14 pages long, and every developer should read it at some point. The Scrum Guide defines the roles or accountabilities that should exist on any Scrum team, including the product owner, software developer, and of course, the Scrum Master. The Scrum Guide also defines the activities teams should perform while developing software, including sprint planning, daily scrums, retrospectives, and reviews at the end of each sprint. As you can see, Agile is all about how you should think about software development, while Scrum is a proven framework for teams to follow. It should be noted that Scrum and Agile are complementary ideas. You don't have to choose between them. In fact, it's not hard to do them both together because the Scrum pillars of transparency, inspection, and adaptation are all in line with Agile values, such as quickly responding to change and customer collaboration. That's why people often refer to Scrum as an Agile framework. By the way, the authors of the Scrum Guide, Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland, both signed the Agile Manifesto in 2001. However, despite that, the word Agile never once appears in the Scrum Guide. About a year ago, I spoke to David West, the CEO of Scrum.org, about why this was. And not only did he provide a great answer to that question, but also a great explanation about what the difference is between Agile and Scrum.
Well, I think it's, ultimately, I think Scrum is an Agile approach. Agile is that set of ideas that came from obviously the Agile Manifesto in Snowbird, but the word is about being responsive to change, to delivering value to stakeholders rather than following a plan. Those sort of principles. What Scrum does is make that real. It provides a framework which you then have to obviously instantiate. So you've got these ideas that are agile. You then apply the framework. You have to instantiate that into your process, maybe bring some Kanban in, maybe bring some XP in, and you start working as a team and then inspecting and adapting based on how that work's going. So you can think of really, if you're a software person, you can think of you're sort of like, you've got the class, the really high level class, then you've got the specialization called Scrum, and then you've got the instance that's in your actual application in the context of your team. So I think that we're all, agile approaches, and Scrum is just a particular one of them.
Yeah, Agile is sort of the umbrella that kind of encompasses all the different frameworks. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think umbrella's kind of nice because that's very symbolic, because obviously you have to bring in also other things that are also under the umbrella, and they fit better together if they're all under that umbrella. Yeah.
What is the difference between Scrum and Kanban, and can they be complementary?
Wow, that's obviously a really political hot topic there, Darcy. So, I mean, ultimately, they are very complementary, and it's kind of disappointing that people consider them to be, competing approaches or frameworks. Kanban is all about visualizing work, actively managing the items in the workflow, with things like WIP limits, etc., and generally continuously improving that workflow. Scrum's something slightly different. Scrum is about solving complex problems. It's about aligning teams on pursuit of those complex problems through a product goal, a sprint goal, a self-managed team working together to deliver against that, a backlog, etc. So I believe that the two can work in perfect parallel. One, probably the most important thing is to be effective in Scrum, you have to make things transparent. In empiricism, it's at the heart of Scrum. Kanban is a great mechanism for making the work transparent, visualizing it through a Kanban board, etc. Obviously, another key element of Scrum is the daily Scrum. And the daily Scrum is about, talking about how the work's going, making sure that the team is inspecting and adapting that work. So actively managing the workflow is a fundamental part of that. And then continuous improvement is key to Scrum with the sprint review and the retrospective. The sprint review is about improving with feedback from stakeholders, the product and the outcomes that you're going to do next. And obviously the retrospective is very much focused on improving how you work. So improving the workflow is part of that. So it just seems like the Kanban and Scrum are designed to work together. So I've always been very confused that people would say, they're different and competing approaches.
Okay. Yeah, I see more and more just in different kind of people's approaches and philosophies, a kind of a hybrid of the two, where we've got a Kanban board, but still following the kind of structure of Scrum.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right, Darcy. I think that the use of a Kanban board and the difference between a Scrum board and a Kanban board is, semantic to some extent. Mm-hmm. However, if you're not managing, how long, so you've got aging, then it's probably not going to be a Kanban board. If you've not got WIP limits clearly defined, then it's probably not a Kanban board. And so applying those practices onto your Scrum board to convert it from one to the other, this visual way of work is a really good step, because suddenly you'll realize that you've got this particular, PBI or task on the board, and it's been there for like nine sprints. It keeps going through the sprint cycle, a bit like a sock in your laundry. You got that one sock that keeps going through every time because it gets stuck at the back of your washing machine. So and it's very clear then, because you've got that time sort of measure. Those sort of things are incredibly valuable. So I'm not sure hybrid approach. I think combining these two sets of ideas to what makes sense for you is ideal. Yes.
The greatest level of success comes to teams who embrace the practices outlined in the Scrum Guide, while at the same time embracing an Agile philosophy. You can do Scrum and Agile at the same time, and in fact, in my opinion, that's the best way to develop modern software. Oh, and if you're Agile and working with Scrum, check out my Scrum Master certification guide. It's available on Amazon. Python and Java devs will love it.